Hi, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. Let me just first start with congratulations to Fleur and Charlotte and the entire eCulture team, of course. This is a fantastic event, and congratulations. Hope many more will follow. So my name is Gwen. Here I am. I'm going to talk about moving DE&I from intention to impact. I'm leading DE&I globally for a tech company called Hexaware and also Mobiquity, which became part of Hexaware a couple of years ago. I'm doing that for as well. And let me just start with a couple of questions. So who likes to work in an organization where they feel that they belong and that they have a place there to be? Who likes that? Great. And who likes that, people that you work with also have that same feeling, that they feel that they belong and that they're in the right place? Yeah, and who thinks that, being valued, being respected, seen and heard, you just keep your hands up, right? Yeah, is a good thing to be in workplaces like that. Who likes that as well? Yeah. We all do, right? I think, it's just human basic needs to feel respected, heard, and seen. So, and if you think about the big challenges of companies today, you could sort of see four challenges. Cramped talent markets, right? We all have a lot of recruiters here. You face it every day. Talent shortage, right? So getting more talent in. And also, long time to hire processes. A second challenge is people leaving across the organization. Seniors, juniors, leaving because the number one reason for leaving globally today is a lack of sense of belonging. A third challenge that organizations see is, deepening their footprints in international markets. Connecting with all these different cultures and different markets internationally can be quite a challenge. And the fourth one is the ambiguity that we live in, the uncertainty of the world. And all these things affect all of us in the organization. So who believes that diversity is therefore a very good answer? I do, because diversity creates different perspectives, different backgrounds, different views, different values, and that can give new perspectives to things, new ways going forward, new plans. And that with those new plans, we can navigate that ambiguity. We can give answers to finding new talent on the market, to create that sense of belonging in an organization, and to understand how to work with all these different new markets and new customers across the world. DE&I is a very, very strong answer. So who believes that all these mixes of people with different race, ethnicity, LGBTQ, neurodiversity, gender, age, gives organizations more resilience and, more power? I believe that is something that organizations really, really need today. So I think we can say, we all put our hands together for that, right? We saw that. But why is it, though, then, that if we like this so much, and we know this so much, and we embrace this so much, that 78% of employees lack the experience of diversity in leadership roles today? That 45% of LGBTQ people don't feel safe at the workplace to be themselves? Why is it that such high numbers of people, black people and people from colored people, talking about myself and I'm stumbling about my words, feel ignored or, not part of the game in organizations? Why are women leaving in such high numbers, the highest numbers today globally? Women are leaving because of lack of equality and equity in organizations. So why is it that, we want this so much? Why is it that our intentions are so high, but our impact is so low? So, there's a lot of research about this today, and today I want to take you through a couple of thoughts that I have and share my experiences, and I hope to inspire you a little bit today, and that you bring home a couple of things that I mentioned today to do something different tomorrow. So, I'm going to talk about accountability, about leadership, and about allyship. So, accountability. If an organization wants to become more diverse and more inclusive, so moving from A to B, it needs to come with a plan. You know, where are we today, and where do we want to go to? You know, and I'm sorry. Yeah, where do we want to go today, and where do we want to go tomorrow? So change is needed in organizations where we need to hire different, promote different, evaluate different, you know, reward different, lead different. We all need to know that we all have a part to play to do this. You know, what is our portion on our plate? Because change, when you need change, all of us need to be there. So, if we acknowledge that the change that needs to happen, it also needs to come from ourselves, then we need to acknowledge that the change that we need to do, we have to make the step forward. But that's a challenge, because if you want to change, you know, that's hard. Making change is hard. Bogdan and Marcia will tell a lot more about biases and why change is hard, and they have all this fantastic information about how the brain works. But I think we can all acknowledge that making change is hard. So I believe that people only change because of two reasons. One, there's a reason for them, there's a benefit for them that you want to make a change. Or two, there is an intrinsic motivation. There is a life experience or a story that you heard, and you think, yeah, I want to make that change. So can you think of something yourself, you know, a significant change? Maybe you stopped smoking, or you wanted to become more fit, or you want to start eating healthy. You know, think about that moment, or maybe something at work, of course. What made you change? Anybody would like to share? Yeah? Motherhood. Motherhood. So, and what made you change?
I didn't want to work the way I was working before. So I wanted to create a different setup that would enable him to be more flexible.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, you could say that's intrinsic motivation, right? Yeah. So, you know, making great changes takes, it asks a lot from us. So the intrinsic motivation is a bit less discussed in organizations because it sometimes has to come with feelings, you know, or things inside. So when you want to make big changes in organizations, most of the time we need that so-called business case. And for business case, and also to understand how you need to go from A to B, we need data. You know, data proves where are we today, where are we going tomorrow, who's going to lead that, who is going to support that, where are we, what does B look like, and how can we make sure that we're on the right path. You know, data proves. So if you want to move from A to B, make sure that you understand the numbers. You know, what are the hiring numbers? What are the promotion numbers? What are the attrition numbers? Are we understanding what we're trying to do and where do we want to move to? Why do people want to work here? You know, do we make decisions based on facts and data? Or do we make decisions based on long-held bias or emotions or gut feelings? So making plans, going from A to B, knowing where you are and knowing where you're going to, is not a new approach, right? It's what we do every day in business. Sales, for instance, very hard targets. We know where we are today. We know where we want to go to. We evaluate RFPs. We evaluate RFIs. We ask customers for feedback. We really take that in and trying to make a next step better for our customers. So we know how to do that. Why don't we do that for the most important part of our organization, which is our people. Right, so collecting data should also not focus only on the D, the hiring, right? And getting all these different people in and making sure that the numbers are being reached. The collecting data and understanding where you're going towards also needs to go for the I. So data and attracting input and collecting input on how many people were promoted, how many people get mentorship, how many people get sponsorship, right? Inclusive leadership, training, all the stuff that creates that inclusivity, why the diverse people that come in also want to stay in your organization. Data proves, data proves. And without a plan, you will not move from A to B. So start collecting your data, understand where you're going, move from intention to impact. The second topic is leadership. So I read somewhere that on an annual basis, every year, 4 million books of about leadership are being written, or published, I have to say. So 4 million, that is a huge number, at least to me it is. And it shows that there is a lot of thought around what leadership is. And I think, the world changes and people change. So I think leadership also changes over time. So it's a constant conversation around what leadership is. So in a lot of companies and cultures, you see more of the masculine approach to leadership. The Napoleon style, on his horse, conquering the world and fighting and pushing and being out there. The skills and behaviors that come with this are directive, assertive, aggressive even, always on, always available, impersonal, leading from the front, being strong. And I hope when you are creating more inclusive organizations, that we also move towards additional and other behaviors and skills that we need to have in leadership to create that inclusive environment and that safe environment. Anybody can name a couple of behaviors like that or skills that you would love to see when you're building an inclusive organization? Empathy? Oh, compassion, sorry, compassion, yeah. Active listening, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, empathy, listening. Yeah, go ahead. Hey, hi. Careful well-being, yeah, fantastic. Freedom to speak, yeah. Great, all these skills and behaviors will add to create that inclusive organization, collaboration, vulnerability, connecting, courage, coaching. Those are skills and behaviors that we also would like to see when we want to build that more inclusive organization where everybody feels that they belong. So also there are multiple inclusive leadership trainings out there, but today I want to talk a little bit about what we can do different tomorrow. Active, easy actions that we can start with today. So, for example, take somebody out for lunch that you normally don't do lunch with. Or go and have coffee with somebody you normally don't speak to. Go, instead of the usual suspects, to the unusual suspects. It's, I've had, fantastic and brilliant conversations with people I normally don't have lunch with or normally don't have a coffee with or a chit-chat with. And the other day, I met somebody who just relocated from another country into the Netherlands. And he was explaining how hard it is to, also exciting, of course, but how hard it is to build your life professionally and personally in a new country, with a new culture, where you don't speak the language, where you don't understand the behaviors yet and the values yet and how things are being done, how difficult that is. And although English is a bridging culture that a lot of us speak, it's hard to build friendships and relationships in a new environment. So I think we should all keep that in mind when we are attracting candidates and relocating candidates into here or wherever, that it's hard to adjust adjust. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a LinkedIn story about, I think it was a famous television show. I don't even know what it is, but it's this lady, it's an image of a lady, and she's Spanish, and she says to somebody else in English, do you know how frustrating it is to translate everything from Spanish into English before I say it? Do you know how tough that is? Do you even know how smart I am in Spanish? And for a lot of people, that is the reality, right? That is, the challenge that they have. So I lived in Stockholm a couple of years ago. I was there for an interim job, responsible for HR for the Scandinavian countries. And when I just arrived there, I also felt like, I need to find my way and my place here. And I always like to finish off a week with a couple of drinks or with a dinner and have fun. And I was so happy that a couple of my colleagues, invited me for that well-needed drink on Friday evening, and also for lunch because it was normal to go out lunch as well, so that I wasn't alone. So they asked me along, and I was really happy. But after an hour, they started to speak Swedish. And I, of course, couldn't understand. And that happened multiple times, also during lunch. And it made me feel a bit of alone and insecure because I didn't know why it happened. But at the same time, I thought, it might happen to me as well when I'm in Holland sometimes. So let it be. But it created a lonely feeling and not feeling really being part of it. Right? They were laughing. I didn't know why. There was this long monologue of somebody, and I didn't know what they were talking about. So, and although I asked a couple of times, could you please switch back to English? It also made me feel a bit shit because I was the one asking them to adjust to me. Well, I'm the only one not adjusting to them. So that was a bit of a crap experience. And a couple of weeks after that, one of them came to me, had a coffee, and asked me how I was, how the relocation went, how I connected with people, if I was landing very well. And I felt the true interest in me, in my story, in my experience, and that created the feeling that I felt safe to also say, I have to say sometimes I feel a bit lonely because of this and this and this and that. And the great thing was he immediately responded and got the team together, and we spoke about it. And because we took the time to really listen to each other, I understood, why it happened, and it was absolutely not on purpose. And they understood very well now how it made me feel. Immediately, the change was there to be more considerate of each other. And that, for me, was a real game changer. And it stayed with me during my whole career, because today I'm always focused on, if people are able to follow the conversation, be in the story. So very important. Also keep that in mind with all the candidates that you speak with. But also, if you have a fantastic idea or a new project that you want to test it with somebody else. Don't go for the usual suspects, and create situations where people can give real input that you might be very pleasantly surprised, and the feedback and the input that you get might take your project to the next level or give your idea another boost. It's very important to create space for stories and really listen, because a lot of people, even maybe some of us, think they're really good listeners, but they're not. They're listening because they want to reply or they want to say something. I do it sometimes as well. I really try to stay focused on active, truly listening. It's hard sometimes, Hold your judgment, be quiet, really listen, let it sink in and learn. But if we do that every now and then, it will have huge impact on the people that are speaking, because they feel really acknowledged, but also you. When you stay silent, you learn a lot more sometimes. So do that. Create stories and listen. Really do that. Schedule time for this, Do it on a Friday afternoon. Have coffee with people. Hold yourself accountable for that. And also inspire others to do that. So move from intention to impact. And the third topic I want to talk about is allyship. So, what is an ally? Simply said, a person that supports another person or supports another group, probably different from them. Who thinks he or she is an ally? An ally being a white man supporting black people or people of color, or a man, allyship of a woman, or straight person, LGBTQ. A lot of hands, right? So let's focus on gender equality as being an ally for that. With regards to gender equality, it's not the women that need to fix that. We need to do that together, men, women, and every gender. Focusing on gender equality is something that you do together because it will create more women in an organization, more promotions for women, and sponsoring and mentorship in organizations where there are more men than women. But it also decreases stress and increases well-being for everybody in the organization, also for the men, because they don't have to feel that burden to know it all, to be it all, to leading it all. So to do it together will always benefit everybody. If you look at, research shows that when striving for gender equality, when men are not involved, 30% of progress is being reported. But when men are involved, it's 96% of progress that's being reported. That's a huge difference and, a fantastic impact. But I forgot one slide. This is the allyship slide. But here is an interesting fact. When you ask men, research, of course, McKinsey, when you ask men if are you a great ally at sea level, 77% say, yeah, I'm an ally. But only 45 women perceive it like that. Mid-level, 76%, and only 36% of women say, yeah, I feel it. And lower level management, 51 against 28. What does this mean? Is allyship in the eye of the beholder? I'm not sure. I don't know. But what I take from this is that it is extremely important to check sometimes, every now and then, if you are on the right path. If you truly want to be an ally, are you doing the right things? Get feedback, understand what you're doing, and how can you do better, and how can you do more? So, allyship is not about accepting the other, right? It's about standing up for the other. It's about challenging the status quo. It's about challenging yourself. Am I biased? Is bias at play here? And also stand up when you see that with others. Hold others accountable as well. I think, in this room that I speak to today, we have a lot of recruiters, HR people, people leaders, business leaders. We all have such an impact on the people that we work with and on the people's careers and the way that they experience organizations. It's extremely important that we are all on the journey to create more diverse and inclusive organizations. It's not them that need to fix it. It's not them that need to challenge the status quo and make this change. It's all of us. Stay in the conversation. Don't think, I'm a good ally. I'm doing enough. I don't want to be in the conversations that are happening today because I'm going to focus on something else today, or I'm going to do that on a Wednesday afternoon. No, stay in the conversation. Be part of the whole experience. Share your learnings, share your findings, ask feedback and ask input on how you're doing, because we need to do this together. Great intention will not lead to great impact. Action will. So move from intention to impact. So my hope for today was that you take one or two things home with you. So I hope that you do. But maybe you think, oh, Gwen, everything that you said today, I'm already doing that. You know, it's nothing new. I already do that. Fantastic. Because a lot of companies are not so far, are not that far on the journey as you are. So congratulations to you. And then take it to the next level. Inspire people to do the same. Inspire people to do the same. But if you think, Gwen, you mentioned a couple of things that were new to me, and I need to check my things and do better. Cool. Because that's what we're here for. We're learning, we're on this journey. It's tough sometimes. It takes time. You know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's all okay. And just in case, I created a short action list for you to take home. So maybe you can take out your phones and make a picture, because tomorrow, remember, know where you're going and know where you are today, so that you see the progress, you see the difference, you know what it looks like, you know what you need to do. Be less Napoleon and be more curious. Ask questions. You know, don't be that directive person all the time. Ask questions, include people. Step out of your bubble. Don't be a stranger. Connect with the unusual. Don't stay in your own spheres. And the last one, stay in the conversation. No, don't step out of the conversation. Stay in it. You will learn and you will grow. So DE&I is absolutely the right thing to do, because we all agreed. Everybody wants to feel seen, heard, respected, and valued. And when DE&I is done right, it's also a fantastic sustainable growth enabler. It will tackle the 4 challenges that I spoke to at the beginning of my keynote. And it will turn your company into a talent magnet. And that is what we all want, right? So let us move from intention to impact. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gwen. We are a little bit ahead of time, so do you feel like taking questions or?
Anyone has a question? Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned a lot data in terms of tracking performance management. Am I afforded opportunities for training? Am I being promoted? Things like that. We do a lot of that in terms of gender tracking and who's being promoted, etc. How would you suggest gathering data points for other diversity points?
Yeah. Did you all hear the question? Hear the question? No. So he will do it again.
Let's go.
Yeah, you need to do the work sometimes as well.
True. So you mentioned a lot in gathering data points, especially when it comes to am I afforded opportunities for learning and development? Am I promoted? Do I have equal pay, etc.? And we do a lot of that for gender points, but it's more difficult when it comes to other demographic points. Do you have any suggestions, or how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, you see that a lot in organizations, right? And it is hard to track other data points than gender, especially in the different countries, because we have to deal with, privacy laws, and all that stuff in all the different countries. I think you can ask a lot as long as it's voluntary and anonymously. And I think people will share their personal information with you as long as they understand what you're going to do with it, who's going to see it, and why you want it. So if you create a culture, or at least a message and a campaign around that, and people really feel that it's a benefit for them to expose their information and to share their information, then I think on a voluntary and anonymous basis, you will take that to the next step. There's so many restrictions in all the countries to ask, on a mandatory basis, or to have personalized data. So you can't do that, but you can do it in the way I just suggested. So yeah, and sometimes it takes time. I'm also working on that in my organization as well. It takes time for people to to feel comfortable enough to share what's really personal. So create that culture and that message around it. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you talk about gender, one of the things that I've been working on a lot is the gender pay gap. And one of the challenges that I'm really facing is that there is almost no research on the impact of non-binary people when it comes to the gender pay gap. So internally, I can't really do the full analysis on it because we have non-binary people, and where do I put them? Because if I put myself in the group of females, then we're great with our gender pay gap, but I don't identify as that. But then if I remove myself and I'm just hanging there, a nobody when it comes to the gender pay gap, all of a sudden all of our data is screwed because I am part of the group that gets the equal pay, but yeah, not taking in that consideration. Do you have any advice on how to deal with that?
It's a very good question and very hard to answer. I don't. Yeah, well, and that's okay because these kind of questions need to be asked, right? I don't have an answer. I think there's a lot to say about closing the gender gap. A lot of organizations are making their first steps into that, but a lot of organizations still don't do that, and also really disclosing what they're doing. So I don't have an answer. But let's keep in contact and see if we can help each other on that, because it will be eventually a road that everybody needs to travel on, right? So thank you. Yeah, is it time? Okay. Thanks all, and have fun today.